Well then, hello and welcome to the Tasogare Radio Show. I'm your host, Midday, and it's been a while. I'm not going to pretend to have a good excuse here. I was exhausted. I was tired. I had so much going on, whether it be the trip or my day job or just the final details with regards to, all this. Yeah, I was exhausted. I was burnt out. If you've forgotten, and I don't blame you if you have, this is my show where I share with you music from games that I enjoy or that I've never heard before, care of your requests. This show is brought to you by me in accordance with an agreement with ORAS, and I'm going to get their mandated line out of the way right now. Who are you? Why are you here? With that said, it's time to get to the important part. The theme for this episode is Burnout. It's my show and I get to pick music, so I like to pick themes around how I'm feeling. And the truth is, yeah, I was burnt out. But now, I'm not. I'm rested. I'm feeling better. I'm focused. I'm eating well, I'm sleeping well, I'm having a cup of coffee, and I'm back on track. For me, burnout came not only from what I was doing, but pressure I feel to do more and never fail. And I can't keep that up, especially when I didn't know how much longer it would be. But now I do know, and I've got focus, and I accept that it's not going to be perfect. I'm ready to fight again. So if anyone is still out there listening, let's go. Here's the first set. We're going to start out with a trilogy from the Atelier games, leading with Guidance from Atelier Ayesha. thought that the Atelier Ayesha game was surprisingly lonely and pensive at times. Unlike the other games in that particular trilogy, the main character is canonically alone for most of the game, aside from her pet. Yes, you do bring party members with you, but to me it feels more like a mechanical necessity for there to be team members in combat, not that they truly join you for the journey. In the other games, you had people by your side who were with you the whole time, with the same mission. But Aisha had to search for her sister alone, only meeting people in passing. As for this particular song, Guidance, it plays very early on in the game and to me is a solemn reminder of how much hardship there is ahead of Aisha. I think what really brings it together is that a late game important boss battle theme uses the same melody that ties the feeling of the long journey back to a conclusion. That said, Aisha was a timed game, and you could fail to save your sister, and then it would just end. You could end up not hearing the final battle version. I remember many years back, someone in a forum argued with me about the lonely nature of Aisha's journey, so if you're familiar with the game, you may not feel the same way as I do. But then again, I also used the music replacement feature in Aisha extensively to create a much more solemn soundscape for the game, after my first playthrough anyway, which probably changed my personal interpretation of the game as a whole. That just might be an endorsement for how much difference a soundscape makes to the game, though. The second track in that set is not from a main Atelier game, but from Khemia. Silent Queasiness is one of my favorite tracks from that game, and I'm fairly sure it was level music, but if I'm being honest, it's been so long since I've played it, I'm not sure if I can accurately recall where it played. I think it has a very unsettling melody and gives the listener an impression of whatever the opposite of relaxation is. Either way, this and a few other songs from the game stand out in my head, and I could never clear them off my hard drive. In terms of Burnout, I feel like this song is the emotions of right before you have to stop, which is, of course, followed by the stop. Regret, from Atelier Eska and Logi, which is one of my all-times, isn't just Burnout incarnate to me. It is the song that plays during a really important scene that sticks with me, even after many years. One of the main characters has been half-heartedly going along with a huge plan to make something far beyond what they thought was possible, something he had tried to do before but failed at, and hurt many people in the process. He'd been running away, and no one knew his history. He didn't try to stop anyone this time either. He just assumed since he had failed, they wouldn't get far. But they get too far, and when he realizes that, he breaks down. Accumulation of burnout from failure and fear of repeating past mistakes. That's what this song's for. The melancholic first few notes hit me really hard. That feeling of it being too hard to stand back up. I know that feeling. Some days this year have been like that. I failed at a lot of things I wanted to do. It takes someone else reminding me of the things that worked out sometimes because I get caught up in my failures, what I didn't manage to accomplish or what didn't work out, to the point that it feels useless to try. It's like the opposite of survivorship bias. I talked about it a bit in a live stream too, but the same thing happened for me with the trip I took this year. I felt like the more I looked forward to it, the more likely it would fail or fall apart. So even in the weeks leading up to it, I felt more dread about what was going to go wrong and stop me than excitement for going on a once-in-a-lifetime trip. But it worked out. I did go. Nothing went wrong. I actually met the ORAS doctor in person for the first time there. I mean, I think he's a real doctor. Yeah, it turns out I was doing worse than they thought. The burnout mindset was wearing me down a lot, and the progression was more problematic than I expected. We decided I needed some downtime, so I've been taking it. And yeah, I really did need that. I probably took more time than even ORAS expected, to be honest. And surprisingly, I actually had some people asking about the next episode of this show, which was very humbling. I didn't think anyone cared that much. I hope you haven't completely forgotten by now, though. Anyway, I'm pretty sure we don't have any new messages, but... You have no new messages. Yeah, I thought so. Anyway, here's the next set. We're starting off with something a little different. And this is from a game I've never played. This is The End of Our Time from Atelier the Eternal. As I said before we started, The End of Our Time from Atelier the Eternal is an interesting song from a game that I've never played. I don't know what it's about. I used to play Stepmania, which was a rhythm game, and it was easier to find tracks in packs online rather than individually. I had a pack that randomly contained the opening theme from Atelier the Eternal, which I liked, and I happened across this specific track when I was looking for the full opening. Something about its bittersweet sort of character has stuck with me for a really long time. I don't know where it fits in game, but I could see it being a sad sort of ending, or for someone who doesn't make it. The name certainly lends it that kind of feeling, but especially with that concluding note at the end, rather than a more cohesive loop like you often hear at games, it really does have a sort of finality to it, like a period at the end. Continuing the quieter resignation sort of direction, the next two tracks are from a game called Fragile, Farewell to the Ruins of the Moon, which seems to be well thought of by those who know it, but seemingly not many do. The two tracks I've selected here are What Would and Something Called Trust, a pair of lovely piano tracks from the game. What Wood's triplet feel throughout the song has a sort of repetitive monotony, but just as you're starting to get comfortable with the repetitions, they have these little stumbles that shift the flow. It embodies struggling to keep going in a way that feels very personal to me. Then next we have something called Trust, which feels like it's mostly in 6/8 time, still having that sort of triplet feel, yet at points it suddenly drops the bass notes on the other beats, which makes it resemble 4/4 instead, and it's that shifting focus of the heart of the melody and bass line that give it such an uncomfortable and exhausted feeling. I would like to reserve the chance to talk too much about the game right now, as I do plan to replay it very soon, and my personal memories of it are getting quite faint right now. I feel like trying to go back to it and research any more context would take away from the next replay. But if this music alone can pique your interest, please do join me for it. I thought about replaying this game because I always do play an old nostalgic game at this time of the year. And this year's Nostalgic Game Week is going to be a little more special than normal because that is when this is going to end. The main reason I'm finally past the burnout is because I've got a date now, and it's close. It's the last day of my Nostalgic Game Week, July 25th, 2026. If at some point in the future you're listening to this, you get to know I've already made it to the finish line, and you'll be able to see what happened. Me, right here in the before time, my mouth is still sewn shut from that NDA with Oras, but once that day passes, I don't know if there's a way to hide it. It'll be out there in the open. I know that probably sounded cliché as hell, but if it wasn't for Oras, I'd be stuck. I keep thinking about that caller from last time and what she said. If these last few months have taught me anything, it's that I don't have the luxury of worrying about what Oras might be doing elsewhere. I need this, and I'm just fortunate they decided they also need me. None of this is covered by my extended medical. Ugh, I don't even want to think about it anymore. Next songs, let's go. Since we're talking about Nostalgic Game Week, last year I played Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, so let's go with one from that first. This is Never Wanting to Forget. The last set was pretty quiet and minimal, so we're back to some more orchestrated tracks this time. The first, Never Wanting to Forget, is a really interesting song to me because normally I wouldn't find this to be very easy listening. The syncopated beats in the background, the dissonance, the lack of a really strong main melody, all of it comes together in this disconcerting track that is played during a pivotal moment in the game. Held almost in stasis by the princess, you must recall your journey to help your memories shine bright enough to face the final boss. In the context of what I wanted to express here, this is the culmination of the journey, the moment before facing the end, the last chance to rest and recall where we've been and what we've done. And it's necessary before we can face the end. The second song I selected in that set was Embers. I stopped playing Honkai Star Rail, the music this game was from, but I wonder if they even now live up to the story they told with just the music in Yarilo 6. The way they built Embers up to wildfire across the planet in the story was honestly moving. Embers are interesting in that sense because fire turns to embers and embers can flare up again. So, literal sense of the word. Embers are burnt out, but not the end. This song could be the end of fire, but it's also just the start, which is exactly what I need right now in this moment. And the last was From Strength to Kindness. Eternal Sonata is a bit of an odd duck of a game, and I believe I mentioned before that it's where I fell in love with bows as a class and games in general. But I wonder how many games have the guts to do what it did at the end. Well, maybe some year this will be the nostalgic game on the schedule for Nostalgic Game Week. That aside, this particular song, along with the name, calls to mind some specific images for me, and this isn't so much reflections on the game, but just what I personally hear in the music. I envision this could work as a character theme for someone who never had the chance to slow down and think about what they've gone through, and finally taking that chance to stop and look back and wonder if it was worth everything they had to do to get this far. And that speaks to me a lot right now. Think about it. I'm just sharing some music with you and talking about it, yet somehow in exchange for that, they're going to save my life? Yeah, I'm sure anyone listening has already figured out that I'm in a bad position here. I didn't really have a choice but to work with Oras. Maybe I don't know what I've got myself into. So, let's say Oras is a den of villains. Can you forgive me for working with them if they're the only ones with the technology to let me live a normal life again? It comes down to means and ends. But I personally have decided, in this case, that the end is too important to quibble over the means. I feel like I might get another call from Sean over this. Save it, Sean. I read the NDA contract again. There's no non-disparagement clause, and that's on you guys. I guess there's a chance they send one over after this. Hold it over my head and say it's a new condition for the delivery to proceed. And I'd really have no choice but to sign it if they put a condition on it like that, since we are so close to the deadline. But that'd be real villainy now, wouldn't it? To change the terms of our agreement this close. You wouldn't, would you? I have one last song to play us out, as usual, and theme for the next episode has been decided. Actually, I already decided at the start of this episode, and of course, it's the way I'm feeling. For the last few months I've been resting, so now I am ready to fight. If you have some battle themes you'd like to request, the message machine is ready, or leave a comment. I'm watching for them. The theme for next time is battle themes. Thanks for listening. I've been your host, Midday, and this was the Tasogare Radio Show. To close out for today, this is the orchestral version of Grandmother from the Nier series. We'll catch you next time.